Righto, boys.
We'll
Circuit of the Americas happens later tonight, but we're looking back at the race in Suzuka.
We got to talk about Max Verstappen though. We got a back-to-back world champion, as you will, second time for Red Bull. Interesting result. Wet race in Japan. They got a race in.
They did get some sort of a race.
Yeah.
How was it for viewing?
Was it a good time slot for us?
Yes. Was that the best thing about it?
Yes. Considering I think tomorrow's race starts 6 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
I like that time. Like for me, it's very difficult to watch these F1s in Europe when it's like midnight or 1 a.m.
Well, they usually start at 11, so the 11 o'clock's not too bad of a time slot. But yeah, you still finish at 12:30 kind of thing. But either way, Max Verstappen got the win. But it was interesting. They had a bit of controversy and trying to work out a bit of confusion around the points and the length of the race and whether they'd get full points for this to actually make him a winner. Was it Sainz crashed out? I'm just wondering. Leclerc didn't, but Leclerc finished.
He finished third. Finished second. Got a 5 second
penalty.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the confusion.
The
confusion with that was Spa last year. Which was the other rained out race.
They got 2 laps, I think, behind the safety car in total for that one.
Yeah. So they got only 2 laps behind the safety car, and Max won it at half points. So the FIA was sort of like, well, that doesn't really count as a race. Yeah. The rule was
it's percentages.
It's half points if you don't race 75% of the required laps. So two laps didn't make 75% of the race, so half points there. Less than 75%. So during the off season, FIA was like, all right, we're going to change the rules. If the race isn't restarted within the allotted time, then there's no points awarded. I'm assuming the way they worded that, I don't know. I don't think no one on the table is here is a lawyer, but we like to think we are.
Like to think we're doctors, that's for sure.
That's it. I think because they reworded that rule, it meant that if you don't complete 75% of a race, you get awarded half points. So if a race is finished, then you get awarded full points.
Yeah.
So because of that, Max was awarded full points.
Yeah, because they've got the 2 windows. They've got the 3-hour allotment time and then the 2-hour race window.
Yeah.
They completed 28 laps of 53, but it was the 2-hour end for that 28. So they ran up to the end of the 2 hours. Yep. So they completed it on the race timer.
Yeah, that's it. So awarded full points.
Because they all thought they were getting half points, which means he wouldn't have won.
No,
but he would have won this week anyway.
So if it was on half points, it would have had to wait till this week. I think even if Leclerc on full points, if Leclerc had come second, he would have. I think it would still come down to this week as well.
Well, on commentary, they thought they're only getting half points. They didn't think he won. So that was only.
It was.
Really
I think it was real confusing all the way through. And off the restart. Also, actually, we should probably go back to the start. There was a real, I don't know, scary moment.
Yeah, dodgy moment. The race tractors allowed a tractor on the race circuit to pick up a race car, and then Gasly, who'd stopped for tyres and actually was behind everyone, had to complete the lap to then get back into the pits because they red flagged it, then had to drive past the car to the tractor. So they theoretically shouldn't have let the marshal out there, which is reminiscent of what happened to where's his name? Jules Bianchi.
Yeah.
Which was that in Japan?
That was in Japan.
It was in Japan where he came off
race affected
and went under the tractor and then, of course, tragically lost his life. So what they ended up doing was they ended up fining Gasly for speeding under the red flag on track, which kind of tried to push it over here. But I think the F1 world and F1 drivers were like, you can't be doing this. That's a complete fuck up. You can't have marshals out there, especially a tractor on racetrack with a car on the racetrack. So, they were trying to be too quick with it, and then it didn't work out.
Yeah, that's it.
So again, I think they're called for reviews and etc. and all the like. But either way, so from Japan, Max wins it. But then we've got to talk about the cost cap shenanigans because came out that Red Bull were 1.6 mil or something over the cost cap. They all agreed on the 140 mil think pounds as the cost cap. So essentially, I think what happens is they didn't pay for catering for their staff of 1,000 people, so they didn't
count that.
They didn't count their food budget, which they're all on site in the factory. They have to count. They didn't. There was some concession that they qualified for that they didn't put in for, which I think would have covered them some money. And there was another corporate thingy that they'd done, but they didn't spend the 1 point something million dollars in this. They could have spent it on car development, which I think was Zach Brown's comments. So the McLaren. Yeah. Hey, if you're going to cheat, if you're going to allow cheating, we might as well all we'd be doing if we're all getting slapped on the wrist.
Well, that's it. It's sort of a false ceiling. So a minor infraction is 5% over your cap, sorry. So it's like if you don't get penalised for that, everyone will just spend 5% over their cap and then everyone's the same playing field. So Zach Brown came out saying like, what's the point of having the penalty if you don't enforce it? I think he was going pretty hard on trying to enforce like financial penalties this year in terms of like what you overspent last year. Your caps this year is reduced by double that, reduced time in like some of the aero time that they get allotted each year. I think
a more significant penalty than what they're kind of putting forward.
Yeah.
It's not, they had been, this has put Max's championships at concern, but it sounds like it was minor enough that they wouldn't do that, but they want to push the teams that of course were by the books are pushing for a heavier kind of sanction for this, and that this is cheating, so allowed cheating kind of thing.
Well, that's it. I think Hamilton came out saying that in one of the races he needed a new part that was like $100,000 or something like that.
Couldn't do it.
If they overspend on the cap, he gets that pace, saves a couple of seconds, he wins the race. So it's a lot of, I guess, that back and forth. I think the FIA and Red Bull have gone into some undisclosed agreement.
They were going to make an announcement on Friday and then didn't do it. So
I think they have. I don't think they're going to disclose what it was. It was similar to Ferrari a few years ago. With their settlement over, I think it was engines or something like that. So
it was a pretty interesting viewing of the race directors, and the team principals in this regard, because they had Zach Brown and Christian Horner on stage together at the same time. And Horner's kind of rebuttal was, we've done nothing wrong besides all that stuff, but going down the mental health part, like. This really impacts our employees. Their children in the playground are getting bullied because of this.
Because they didn't get lunch.
Exactly. That's pretty funny. But to me, it kind of seems a little bit like of a wet kind of response in this for what was done. So we'll have to see what happens. But either way, at the top, like you said, we're in Texas. That race early. Tomorrow morning to see what that kind of looks like. Max and Perez did get booed a bit on the crowd by the crowd when they did some open mic stuff, as they usually do at during the race weekend, which is interesting.
Is that an American thing? Like, there's no American drivers, is there?
No, I don't know. Just F1 fans booing the Red Bull team.
Okay.
So making a bit of displeasure there. Either way, Sainz is on pole. Leclerc, I think, was second, but it's taken a 10th place grid penalty. So Max Verstappen will start second. Lewis and Russell will follow in third and fourth. I think Lando was fifth. Ricciardo, unfortunately, I think finished 16th. Some news on his front. Looks like he's going back to Red Bull to be a reserve driver next year.
Yeah. Is that confirmed yet, or is that all just rumours?
It's... a very solid rumour, I think, is the case. There's some chat about Haas trying to, coax him back across, go over there, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. He wants to compete. So it looks like he's going, putting steps in place to compete in 2024, which means maybe go Red Bull, do some practice drives, show he's got speed, and maybe gets picked up elsewhere. Or maybe, I don't know, how does he slot back into that Red Bull seat? That'd be at the expense of Perez, you'd think, but... Perez has been doing enough job, I would have thought, for Red Bull to keep winning the Constructors' Championship as well.
Yeah, that's it. I suppose it comes down to what does Perez want? Like if he reckons he's competitive enough to win a championship, like Red Bull's always going to be on Verstappen, so Perez might be moved out again. That might leave room for Ricciardo. Would be weird for Ricciardo to sort of make that big circle back to Red Bull after leaving to Renault to start fighting for a championship.
What were we saying about X's earlier? I don't know. Because they were shouting he might go to Mercedes as a reserve driver because they got an open spot as well. But it looks like he's going to one of the top 2 teams as a reserve driver. And
I'm not sure how it happened, but I think that rumor got kind of killed off, and I think that's what started this Red Bull rumor up again. Yeah.
Oh, anyway, we'll have to see what plays out for Ricciardo in the off season next season. Driver news: Logan's is it Sturgeon or Sargent? Sargent to he's going to Williams, so he'll take that Williams spot. He himself is a Yank and American, kind of I guess like pushing that conversation about getting Americans. So the growth of the sport in America.
I think he'll be the only American on the grid next season.
He's only 21.
Yep. He needs to get points in his super license up as well, but it looks like he'll be able to do that. So he'll go to Williams. ESPN redid their deal with F1, so through to 2025 F1 on ESPN. And then, James, you got the final story there of the actual founder of Red Bull passed away.
Yeah, Dietrich
Mateschitz.
I didn't want to say his name, so that's why I handled it.
I got Dietrich
Mateschitz, I think.
Right, yeah. So the founder or co-founder of Red Bull unfortunately passed away, age 78, over, I suppose it was overnight.
Breaking news.
Yeah, so obviously very influential in the Red Bull F1 racing team. So he'll be sad news, and I'm sure he'll be greatly missed around the team. Around the world, I guess.